After 10 games, I led 5.5 to 4.5. The first half of the match had been stubbornly fought, with no decisive advantage for either side. Botvinnik had recovered from his early setbacks, and I had steadied myself after the blows of games 8 and 9. Tal thinks, in matches, decisive games often come in the middle, not the end. Confidence and psychology play as big a role as calculation. With this in mind, my trainer advised me to set aside my battle with the Karo can, and instead surprise Botvinnik with a closed opening system. The goal was not to seize an immediate advantage, but to create a complex position, one full of problems, and delay clarity until later. Game 11 demanded enormous energy from both of us, and became one of the most spectacular clashes of the match.
The ready opening develops the knight and protects the center. Knight f6 develops the knight toward the center and controls the d5 and e4 squares. g3 prepares to fianchetto the light-squared bishop to g2, where it will control the center from the long diagonal. g6 prepares to fianchetto the dark-squared bishop on g7, where it will attack the center from the long diagonal. Bishop g2 puts the bishop on the long diagonal in a move called a fianchetto. Bishop g7 puts the bishop on the long diagonal in a move called a fianchetto. Castling gets the king out of the center and activates the rook. Castling gets the king out of the center and activates the rook. Textbook play so far. This is a book move, meaning it follows established opening theory, played by top players for years. The bishop is ready to be developed to an active square. Solid. Continuing with standard opening theory. This is the only move that works. This blocks the attack on a rook that could have been captured. This strikes at the center with a pawn, trying to gain space. This develops the bishop and gives it scope on the long diagonal. This threatens to capture a pawn and win material after the follow-up trades. The pawn is now adequately defended. This is an equal trade. White's recapture simultaneously activates another piece. There were worse moves, but also something much better. This protects the attacked pawn. The rooks can see each other now, allowing them to provide mutual defense. This is a fair move. The piece finds a new active square. Very precise. With the rook now developed as well, black has all pieces ready for action. This is not the right idea. There were worse moves, but also something much better. A clear recapture. This move puts the queen on a safer square. That's not a mistake, but it's not the best move either. This is not the right idea. There were worse moves, but also something much better. This is the only good move. This maintains the balance in material with a good trade. A straightforward recapture. The best option was to strike at the center with a pawn. The game is still close to equal, but white lost their advantage. This is the only move that works. This blocks an attack on a rook. This moves the bishop to a better location, allowing it to control more squares. This threatens to win a pawn by kicking a key defender. This attacks a rook, winning a tempo when it moves away. The best option was to move a rook to safety. This permits the opponent to move a queen to a more active position. White's piece has moved to a square with greater activity and control. Advancing the pawns in front of the king can compromise the king's safety. The better move was to defend a pawn that was under attack. This is an equal trade. A clear recapture. A solid choice. This threatens to tactically win a pawn. The better move was to double rooks on a single file. This allows the opponent to force a weak backward pawn. The best option was to force a weak backward pawn. This is not the right idea. There were worse moves, but also something much better. This misses a much better move. This defends the attacked pawn. That's fine. The best option was to double rooks on a single file. This threatens to win material because the defender is pinned. After all captures, this is an equal trade. This maintains the balance in material with a good trade. This protects an underdefended pawn that is under attack. The best option was to set up a blockade. Advancing the pawns in front of the king can compromise the king's safety. This is a fair move. Right on target. That's not a mistake, but it's not the best move either. White had an advantage, but now the game is close to equal. The game was close to balanced, but now black is worse. This overlooks a better way to increase a bishop's scope by moving it to a better square. This missed an opportunity to punish a mistake. This is the only good move. This connects the rooks, which helps them work together. This overlooks an opportunity to capture a free pawn. The piece finds a new active square. That was a free pawn. This mobilizes the knight, allowing it to control more of the board. This is the strongest option. Black was worse off, but now they are in a losing position. The better move was to move a rook to safety. White was better off, but now their position is winning. This wins a pawn. The best option was to move a knight to safety. This allows the opponent to move a queen to a more active position. White's piece has moved to a square with greater activity and control. This attacks a queen, winning a tempo when it moves away. After all captures, this is an equal trade. This threatens to tactically win a rook. The clearly correct move for a threatened queen. The pawn is now adequately defended. Very precise. That's fine. Capturing while sacrificing the bishop was the right idea. This is the way to win a pawn. A straightforward recapture. This is the only move that works. This defends a rook that was under attack and had no defenders. This evades the check from the queen. Right on target. This steps away from the checking queen. Recaptures from a previous move. A clear recapture. That was a free knight. This evades the check from the queen. That pawn was free for the taking. This is the strongest option. One of the best moves. Very precise. This steps away from the checking queen. This defends a pawn that was under attack and had no defenders. This steps away from the checking queen. Right on target. This steps away from the checking queen. This is not the right idea. This evades the check from the queen. A very strong play. This steps away from the checking queen. This is the strongest option. This evades the check from the queen. A solid choice. This evades the check from the queen. One of the best moves. Very precise. Right on target. This blocks the check from an opposing queen. This is the strongest option. This steps away from the checking queen. Very precise. A very strong play. Trading pawns, increasing black's chances of reaching a draw. Right on target. This steps away from the checking queen. This is the strongest option. This evades the check from the queen. This defends the attacked pawn. A solid choice. One of the best moves. This evades the check from the queen. A very strong play. A solid choice. This steps away from the checking queen. Very precise. Right on target. This steps away from the checking queen. This is the strongest option. One of the best moves. This steps away from the checking queen.
I'm going to show you the final moves of the game. No commentary. Just watch. Botvinnik tried to keep checking with his queen, but White's king marched forward with calm precision. Step by step, I advanced, kg4, kf5, kf6, and the attack could no longer be stopped. With no defense left against the advancing king and queen coordination, Black resigned. Game 11 had demanded everything from both of us: energy, calculation, and psychological strength. In the end, it was one of the most spectacular victories of the match. I remember feeling like I was in a movie. You know, like the final scene where the hero is surrounded by his enemies, and he's outnumbered and outgunned, but he still manages to prevail. That's how I felt in that moment. And I knew that if I could just hold on, if I could just keep my cool, I would win the game. And that's exactly what happened.